Hi, Founder fans. Jason here, and today's founder is Nathan Brownson, a governor of Georgia, and perhaps more importantly, a purveyor general of hospitals for the Continental Army. Let's get into it. So, Nathan Brownson was born in Connecticut and became a physician there, but ends up, like many other people at the time, relocating to Georgia because of all the opportunity he saw. And he goes to Georgia, and shortly thereafter, the American Revolution begins. Now, Brownson is pretty quickly elected by his community of fellow expatriates from New England to go to Georgia's provincial assembly, which was its revolutionary government as the new government was created. But once the new constitution was ratified, Brownson is sent to the Continental Congress. While he's at the Continental Congress, he works closely with Lyman Hall, another Connecticut-trained physician who relocated to Georgia to become an American founder there. And Brownson is actually sent on a really interesting mission. You see, Vermont doesn't want to be part of New York, and it doesn't want to be part of New Hampshire, nor does it want to be part of Britain or Canada or Connecticut or any of the other places that seem to claim Vermont. Vermont wants to be its own state. Brownson is the person chosen to go to Vermont to analyze the situation and determine its readiness for statehood. Now, despite the fact that Vermont seems to have met all the qualifications for statehood, Brownson returns and says this, they still decide to put off any recruitment of new states until after the war is completed. Side note here, Vermont ends up declaring itself an independent nation and would remain as such until after the Constitution was ratified, and finally it was brought out as the 14th state. But Brownson goes back and he spends some more time in the Continental Congress, including being in Philadelphia when the British invade, and he evacuates Philadelphia with the rest of the Continental Congress. Now, Brownson would eventually his term would end in the Continental Congress, and he would return to Georgia, and he would participate in the war effort from there on out. Brownson actually decides to help with the failed invasion of Florida, one of several failed invasions of Florida, where he is appointed as director of hospitals for that mission. Now, his work is so good here that he is taken notice by Nathaniel Greene, Major General Nathaniel Greene, who has recently taken over the Southern Department of the Continental Army. And Greene appoints Brownson as the Purveyor General of the Continental Army for the Southern Department, which means, actually, let me say that again. It's Purveyor General of Hospitals for the Continental Army's Southern Department. That lengthy title means he's in charge of all hospitals, aka taking care of all wounded and sick soldiers from Maryland south. This is a tremendous responsibility that Brownson carries out very well, keeping many of his men healthy in times of great need, especially during the British's southern strategy where they're coming up through Georgia, and you need all the men you can get. Now, after the victory at Yorktown, they go back down, the Patriots retake Georgia, and Nathaniel Greene appoints Brownson as the governor of Georgia. This seems to be a good idea. Georgia during the Revolution and just after the Revolution was very chaotic politically. There were real factions within even the Patriot side of the cause. They just could not agree on how things should go. Now, Brownson, having been out of town for so long between Continental Congress and serving in the war, he seemed like a good compromise candidate. And additionally, he had specialties in working with the other colonies in the Continental Congress. As a physician, having not been around, as I said, made him really appealing to most people because he hadn't really taken one of the partisan sides within Georgia itself. Shortly thereafter, since the war is won, Georgia is reclaimed by the Patriots and can have an election, and Brownson is unanimously chosen by the state Senate, who was making the decision at the time, to become governor of Georgia. Brownson spends 3 years in this position. He helps to prepare for the peacetime lives of Georgians. He also helps to negotiate treaties, most notably with the Native Americans on the Georgian frontier, who many people in Georgia were afraid that they could attack really at any time, especially now that the British were gone. They might come out with one last attempt to claim Georgia as their own. Now, After the full 3 years he can serve in this position, Brownson actually attempts to get a federal position because the U.S. Constitution is eventually ratified, and Brownson became a justice of the peace in Georgia. He writes to George Washington pretty lengthily, asking to receive a federal judicial position. Now, unfortunately for Brownson, he does not get this. Fortunately for us, he writes out his whole career in this letter, which is how I learned most of this stuff about Brownson, is he literally writes it to George Washington, just for us to read, I would presume. Eventually, Georgia rewrites its state constitution. Many states, especially during the Washington administration, go back and revise or totally rewrite their state constitutions. The first ones having been done under duress with the Revolutionary War going on. Georgia's is no different. Nathan Brownson helps write Georgia's new constitution, and after that, he is chosen. He's sent to the state senate, and he is chosen as the first president of Georgia's state senate under its modern-style constitution. Now, that is the full life of Nathan Brownstone, a guy whose name no one knows, but did a whole lot during the Revolutionary War. Now you know it, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do me a favor and hit like. If you're new here, subscribe, because I put out videos about the American Revolution 7 days a week, and if you've come this far, you probably like learning about the American Revolution. I'll be back with another founder for you tomorrow.